The Wicker Man is the most anticipated single in the entire Iron Maiden's career.
Yes, that's true.
And it is this song which was meant to cement Iron Maiden's triumphant return in the 21st century.
Once you've heard it, you'll agree with me. Because if you don't, I'll sort you out, alright?
So as a part of our Up the Iron series, let's take a look at the history behind it and then discuss how this track was supposed to become the band's next The Trooper, and whether it did. Here you go. Very quick before we start, as always, please do not hesitate to comment on anything you hear or see in this video, and especially if you disagree with me, because the whole point of our Up the Iron series is of course to start a conversation. But alright, let's do it. In 1999, metalheads around the world held their breath in anticipation after the announcement that both Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith returned to Iron Maiden, thus restoring the faith in humanity for many.
There's some good in this world, Mr. Furl. And it's worth fighting for.
And with their first post-reunion era album, Brave New World, Iron Maiden were meant to show that this reunion is not about a petty nostalgia, and that the band is determined to look forward and fight for their place in the new era of heavy metal.
And if I didn't think we could do that, I wouldn't be here doing this now and shooting the videos and making the records and everything.
And thus the first single they released with a new old lineup had to be perfect and capture all of the classic elements which made Iron Maiden who they are in the 1980s, and at the same time show their fans that the band is full of energy and power at the beginning of the new millennia. And we all know we did. The Wicker Man is possibly the most symbolic song of that period of Iron Maiden history, as it became somewhat of a reconciliation track for the band. It is the first song in 12 years written by the Harris, Smith, Dickinson trio, and yeah, in case you're wondering, the previous one those three wrote together was this one. And so it is of course no coincidence that the right to represent the first reunion album was given to the song which was written by the people because of whom this reunion was even possible. And of course there was a lot of pressure to make sure that this track is pitch perfect and represents both the classic Iron Maiden era, yet sounds fresh and modern at the same time, with just a right amount of epicness and catchiness included in it. And just running a little bit ahead of myself, in my opinion, they totally succeeded in it. What also underlined the idea of reconciliation and not living in the past was the fact that the song with exactly the same title was actually recorded by Bruce Dickinson during his solo End of War 3 years before that, in 1997, when he was working on his album Accident of Birth. Although most of the fans of course wouldn't know that, since the best of compilation on which it will eventually appear will only be released in 2001. So not for another year. Yet, in order to be fair, let's point out that the only thing in common between those two songs was of course the title, since both of them were inspired by the classic 1973 film, which is called, surprise surprise, The Wicker Man.
It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
And so yes, given all that, and the fact that it is the only song on Brave New World which was co-written by the band's founder, Steve Harris, and the two prodigal sons, Adrian Smith and Bruce Dickinson, The Wicker Man was, in fact, the best song to open the new chapter of one of the greatest heavy metal bands on Earth. Since the Wicker Man's task was to bridge the gap between the classic 1980s Iron Maiden and the new Iron Maiden, it was only fair that the task to create an artwork for that single had to be given to nobody else but the legendary Derek Riggs. And that is almost true. In the early 2000s, the band in fact did reach out to Derek Riggs, and he provided several different artworks for the single, in which he of course depicted the Wicker Man as Eddie, who he himself created back in the 1980s. By the way, I find it kinda cool how in some renditions of Derek's artworks, Eddie's evil face is reflected in the smoke rising up from the burned Wicker Man, which of course references the same face which will later on appear on the final version on the artwork for the Brave New World album itself. And while I think that everybody can agree that those artworks are absolutely kick-ass, the band actually decided to not go with those, and instead reached out to another legendary artist, Mark Wilkinson, who of course was also no stranger to the world of Iron Maiden. Mark's initial rough draft was absolutely loved by the band and the management, and so he asked a couple of his friends to pose for him to make this image more realistic, and was ready to email Rod Smallwood the pencil sketch and the first colored version of what was to become the Wickerman artwork, which Iron Maiden's manager absolutely loved. He then had to play around with Eddie's face for quite a while until settling on a final version, because, you know, a Wicker Man is not actually supposed to have a face, and after sending the band the final version, which was eventually approved, he got only one suggestion from Iron Maiden: to lose the Wolfman. And so he did, finally finishing his version and vision of Iron Maiden's The Wicker Man. So yes, this is the final version, which was finally accepted by Rod Smallwood and the band. Although still pretty well hidden, since on the front cover the band decided to go with a picture of all of them, most likely to underline the fact that this single has already been recorded with the old new lineup. And so on the 8th of May of the year 2000, the world has finally heard the first song of the new old Iron Maiden. Well, technically the first two songs.
What?
Iron Maiden actually released two different versions of Brave New World. One with a classic sing-along, which is known to most of the fans, and a radio-added version with an alternative chorus, in which the band was going for a classic call and response. Your time will come. As far as I know, this version has later on been rejected by the band and has never been played live, which I personally totally get, since the album version is much cleaner, and the classic chorus does underline the main riff, which because of its simplicity, catchiness and repetition gets stuck in your head for hours after listening to this song. Yet, I'll be honest with you, it would have been kinda cool to do a little call and response with the band at one of the future Iron Maiden shows. Your time will come, your time will come. But I'll be honest with you, by now most likely I just want to go to any Iron Maiden show and hear any of their songs live, which sadly I and tens of thousands of Ukrainians were not able to do this year because of the war in our country. And actually, in case you're wondering, I'm recording this video in almost complete blackout. Thank God I just realized that my lamp works from my power bank. And so honestly, I just wanted to thank you all guys for all of your support through these months and for this amazing metal community which we're building, which helps me so much get through these times. And as always, please do not forget that the biggest war since World War II is going on right now in the middle of Europe, and please continue supporting Ukraine in any way you possibly can. But anyways, with the Wicker Man's lyrics, Iron Maiden point out the apathy and the ignorance of a modern society, yet at the same time show that when we come together as a family and community, we can do anything. And as Bruce Dickinson himself pointed out, when shouting in front of thousands of people, your time will come, you suddenly feel like you can change the world and you're part of everything. And this is the clue to understand that this single was never actually meant for the mainstream audiences. It was a song specifically written for die-hard Iron Maiden fans as a thank you for sticking with the band through anything. Although of course it still reached number 4 in Canada and number 9 in the UK single charts. And it was even nominated for a Grammy Award for the Best Metal Performance, yet still lost to Elite by Deftones. And so yes, in my opinion, the Wicker Man actually succeeded in everything it was actually meant to. For yes, even though it might have not been a breakthrough single like The Trooper was, and it most likely did not introduce the band to hundreds of thousands of new fans around the world, it did open the gates to the new era of Iron Maiden. On one hand, giving the fans exactly what they want, yet at the same time keeping them excited for what is to come. So what do you guys personally think about the Wicker Man, and which version, the regular or the radio added one, is your favorite? Please let us know in the comments, I'm really curious to find out. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!